Good morning, dear students. Let's start the second session of the chapter Atmospheric Pressure and Winds. And today we're going to see about the wind systems of the earth. As in the previous session, I explained you that how the winds are caused, and I explained you about the atmospheric pressure. So winds are caused due to the difference in the atmospheric pressure. So when in one region, so let me just explain you with the diagram. So suppose this is the one region, and here atmospheric pressure is high. And here another region, the atmospheric pressure is low. So what will happen? The air starts moving towards the low pressure from the high pressure, and this is how the winds are caused. So this is what I explained you in the previous session, that how the winds are caused due to the difference in the atmospheric pressure. The wind system, there are different types of winds are found all over the world, and all these winds are categorized into three types. What are they? So the first is the primary circulation. In primary circulation, usually the winds which are kept in this circulation are the permanent winds. Now what are these permanent winds? So let me first explain you about these permanent winds. So there are three permanent winds. What are they? They are the trade winds, westerlies, and polar easterlies. These are the three winds: trade winds, westerlies, and polar easterlies. Now how these winds they are blow, or why they are called permanent winds? So I explained you in the previous class about the permanent pressure belts. So what happens here? Now let me explain you with the diagram. These are the permanent pressure belts as I explained you. On equator, this is doldrum, equatorial low pressure belt. In subtropical region, these belts are known as the horse latitude. They are the high pressure belt. In temperate zone, there are again temperate low pressure belt, and in the polar region there are the polar high. So this already I have shown you. On equator, this is the permanent low pressure belt, we call it doldrum, also equatorial low pressure belt. In the subtropical region, in the both hemisphere, there lies the permanent high pressure belt, we call it hot latitude. In the temperate region, again there are the permanent low pressure belt known as temperate low, and in the polar region, as I explained you, there is found the polar high pressure belt. Now usually what happens, here the wind blows from the subtropical high pressure to the doldrum in the both hemispheres, and these winds are known as trade winds. In the northern hemisphere, as these winds blow from the northeast direction, so they are called northeast trades, while in the southern hemisphere, as they blow from southeast trades, southeast direction, they are called southeast trades. Now why these winds are called trade winds? Because in the medieval period, usually, as you know, the ships, they were moved by the help of the winds, and they were having big sails, and they move in the direction to which the wind is blowing. Now usually during the period of 17th and the 18th century, even till 19th century, so there was a large number of migration that occurred between Europe to America. Large number of people, they were migrating to America. So as the ships were moving, so what happens, these winds, they just oppose the ship. They don't help these ships to move forward. Well, I just explained just opposite. So actually these winds, they help the ship to move forward, and as they helps in this trade, and that's why they are called, these winds are called trade winds. Now same way, between the horse latitude, that is the subtropical high pressure belt, it is a high pressure, so the wind blows to the temperate low, and in the both hemisphere actually, and these winds are called westerlies. Now here these westerlies are also known as anti-trade winds. So why they are called anti-trade winds? Now because the same thing, these westerlies, they oppose the ship usually which are moving from Europe to America, and that's why these winds are known as the anti-trade winds. Next is again the wind from the high pressure, the polar high, that blows from up to the temperate low. And as these winds blow from the east direction to west direction, they are known as the polar easterlies. So this is the polar easterlies. Well, I hope you have understood this thing, right? So these are the winds known as permanent winds. Why they are called permanent winds? Because these winds, they blow in the same direction throughout the year, and they don't change the direction because they blow between the permanent pressure belts, and that's why these winds are also permanent. So this is why they are called permanent winds. So this is a description about the permanent winds. And now what happened next? One more thing I want to explain you, that is the seasonal shifting of pressure belt. Now all of you know, there is an apparent movement of sun rays takes place between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Now all of you know the earth is inclined, and as it revolves around the sun, so the position of the sun rays falling on the earth's surface, it just keeps on changing. So you will find on 21st June the sun rays falls vertical where? On Tropic of Cancer. This is Tropic of Cancer. While on 22nd December the sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Capricorn. So what happened? This is the apparent movement. On 21st June, sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Cancer, and every day it moves downward. And then what happened? On 22nd December, the sun rays falls on on Tropic of Capricorn. So here, this movement of the sun rays is called apparent movement of the sun rays. Now because of this apparent movement of the sun rays, what happened? Wherever the sun rays falls vertical, so the temperature is very intense, very high. And this is why what happened? This doldrum also moves. Now this doldrum shifts upward in the summer season. When the northern hemisphere experiences summer season, sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Cancer. So what happened? This is why the doldrum shifts upward, because there is a high temperature. So with the doldrum, all the belts they shift upward. Polar high, this belt it contracts, means it compacts. The area becomes very small. Temperate low shifts upward. This horse latitude, that is the subtropical high pressure belt, also shift upward. When all these belts they shift upward, what happened? All this wind system also shift upward, slightly upward, all the winds. So the region in which these winds are blowing, polar easterlies or whether it is westerlies or trade winds, they all shift their direction, their position. In winter season what happened? All of you know, the sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Capricorn. So the sun rays falls vertical here. So what happened? Because of the high temperature, this doldrum shifts downward, and together with this doldrum, all the pressure belts they shift downward. Now here the polar high pressure belts, this region expands. But here in the southern pole, south pole, the polar high pressure belt, it becomes small, compact. So even all the position of the wind also slightly shifted. Now this whole thing is called the seasonal shifting of pressure belt. Now this seasonal shifting of pressure belt is very, very important. Because of this seasonal shifting of pressure belt, what happened? This Mediterranean region, if you see the map in your book, the Mediterranean region receives rainfall during winter season. Why they receive rainfall during winter season? Because the Mediterranean region, they comes in the influence of westerlies, and westerlies enters in the Mediterranean Sea, picks moisture and shed some rainfall in this Mediterranean region. Second thing, the monsoon region, that is the South Asia and Southeast Asia. South Asia, when we talk about South Asia, it means India and the neighboring countries. Southeast Asia means Myanmar, then Malaysia, Cambodia, Laos, so many countries there. So this region of Asia, they experience tropical monsoon type of climate, means they receive rainy season during the summer period. Now why it is? It is because of the shifting of pressure belt. So shifting of pressure belt is very important. All of you read it in your book, right? It is very important. Now because this is not, you are not sitting in the class, right? So in video you need to study also. If you will not read the book, it will very difficult for you to understand. So seasonal shifting of pressure belt. Okay, so if you look in the book there, figure 13.6 and 13.7, and it is explained there that how the seasonal shifting of pressure belts it takes place. Well, now let's move to the next topic, that is the jet stream. Now usually the jet stream is been omitted from the syllabus, but it is very important. It is very small, so let me explain it. What is jet stream? And you read this topic. It is very small portion. Matter not, because it is very important. Why? Because it will be important for in the 10th class. So don't neglect it. Now let me explain it. So usually what are the jet streams? These jet streams are the very high speed winds blowing at the height of tropopause. Now usually what we know that the wind blows close to the surface of the earth. So till the Second World War, nobody knows about these things. So during the World War II, when American pilots, what happened when they were flying from America to drop some bombs there on Japan, and what happened usually when they fly, when they start their flight, so they observe that their plane, the jet aeroplanes, these jet aircrafts they were struggling in moving forward, but while returning they just very easily with very high speed the jet aircraft they return back to America. So usually because the pilots they sit in cockpit, so they don't know what's going outside. So usually during this flight actually, and these jet aircraft pilots they have discovered that there is a very high speed winds which blows from west to east direction at a very high altitude, that is at the height of tropopause, the height at which the jet aircrafts usually fly. So because these high speed winds it was discovered by these jet aircraft pilots, and that's how these winds get the name jet stream. Now why these jet streams are very important? First of all, these are the very high speed winds blowing at the level of tropopause. Second, they blow from west to east direction. In which region? Region of subtropical region. And they affect the monsoon in India. The whole monsoon season is determined by these jet streams. In fact, these jet streams they determines the departure and onset of the monsoon winds, and this is why these jet streams are very important. So this much only is required for you to know. Otherwise the description of jet stream is very big, right? But in your syllabus only this introduction is given. Now let's move to the El Nino. Now what is El Nino? So this is important. So all of you just look there. Those who are having the book, open the book, and all of you open the page number. Page number I will not tell you, but chapter is the ocean current. That is chapter 10, tides and ocean currents, and there is a figure 10.7. All of you open your book. Now here if you find here in the South Pacific Ocean, there you will find there is a Peru current. Now this Peru current usually if you find it is a cold current, but usually if you just look it develops from the South Equatorial current. South Equatorial current is a warm current which develops into the cold Peruvian current. So what is El Nino? Now usually what happens, this is a normal thing. This warm current develops into the cold Peruvian current. South Equatorial current is the warm current which develops into cold Peruvian current. So usually the condition in the South Pacific Ocean is very cold. Because water is cold, so the atmosphere also is cold, creating a high pressure, and that's why the wind blows from this region to the other areas. Usually the wind carrying moisture from here, it blows towards Asia, bringing the rainfall to Asian continents and also Australia. So this is how the northern Australia and the countries in the South Asia and Southeast Asia, they get the moisture from South Pacific Ocean. Now what happens once in a decade, this warm South Equatorial current, it doesn't change into cold current. It remains warm current. So you can say in an easy language that this cold Peruvian current develops into warm current. Now when this current becomes warm, so the water in this whole South Pacific Ocean, it also becomes warm. And what happens? Atmosphere also becomes warm. Low pressure is created here. Now all of you know the low pressure attracts the wind. Instead of the wind which was carrying the moisture from South Pacific Ocean to the other regions, now this region is attracting the winds from the other areas. So the winds from the other areas, they just start blowing towards South Pacific Ocean. And this is how this region receives very heavy rainfall. In fact, if you find on the western coast, there lies Atacama Desert. Now even the rainfall is so high that Atacama Desert gets flooded. This is what you can find. You can find so many documentaries shown in the Discovery Channel about this thing. So this is how the Atacama Desert once in a decade receives so heavy rainfall that the rainwater, they creates a very big lakes there in the region of Atacama Deserts, and the greenery, it grows there. So all these things happens why? Because here the cold Peruvian current, it changes into warm current once in a while, once in a decade. So this changing of cold Peruvian current into the warm current, this is called El Nino. El Nino is a Spanish word. So this effect is called El Nino. I think all of you have understood this now. And whenever the El Nino occurs, so what happened? Whatever the moisture was supplied from South Pacific Ocean to the Asian countries, this supply is cut. And this is why the South Asian countries and Northern Australia, they don't receive very good rainy season, because the supply of some amount of rainfall is being cut. So many areas in Asia and different parts of the world, they experience drought. So this is why El Nino is so important. So now next is the periodic winds. So let us see the second point. The first thing I have explained you, the primary circulation. Well, jet stream, they are not the part of the periodic permanent primary circulation, even the El Nino, but as it is given there, so I explained you. Now let's move to let's see here, the secondary circulation and tertiary circulation. Now second is the secondary circulation. In secondary circulation, there are the winds which are kept in this circulation are the periodic winds and seasonal winds. When we talk about the periodic winds example, land and sea breeze. Then seasonal winds means monsoon winds. Now all of you know about the land and the sea breeze. Now what happens here? During the day the wind blows from the sea to land, while during the night the wind blows from land to sea. Now why these winds blow? Now these winds blow because of the differential heating of the land and water. Now what happens during the day? The land becomes hot while the temperature of water, it is still cold because of the differential heating. This I explained you in the previous classes. So what happens? The wind starts blowing from sea to land. That's why during the day you will find the wind blowing from the sea. We call it sea breeze. But during the night, this land, it radiates the heat very quickly and becomes cold. And the wind starts blowing from land to sea. So, in this, what you will see? You can see here that so here you can see one more thing. The wind actually, they are blowing from, for the daytime, wind blows from sea to land, while during the night, the wind blows from land to sea. So after a certain period, the wind reverses its direction, and that's why we call them periodic winds. Second thing, seasonal winds. Now what? The monsoon winds are example. Now what happened in India? In South Asia, means India also, you can find for the 6th month in the summer season, the wind blows from southwest direction. Now let me explain you with the diagram. So here I am just drawing you here a small diagram here. Now here is the mountains, because these mountains they act as a barrier. So what happened? The wind blows from southwest direction, and that's why they are called southwest monsoon. It carries moisture from the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea and brings rainfall to India. These winds have been trapped by the Himalayas, and this is how this country, our country, receives so good rainfall. Now what happens in the winter season? The wind starts blowing from northeast direction, and these winds are known as northeast monsoon winds. As you can find, these winds are blowing from the land. There is no water body. That's why these winds are cold and dry. They just push all the clouds backward, and you can find the condition becomes dry. No rainy season. Some parts of India receive slight rainfall because of the different conditions, local conditions. So it is not the monsoon rainfall. That's why we call it northeast monsoon winds. So you have seen here that for the 6th month the wind blows from southwest direction, while for the 6th month the wind blows from northeast direction, and this is why we call these winds as the monsoon winds. Well, monsoon winds, they are also called seasonal winds. So monsoon word, you will study in class 10. The word monsoon is derived from the Arabic word mawsim. Now what is the meaning of mawsim? Mawsim means the winds which reverse its direction. So here you can find as these winds for 6 months they blow from southwest direction. For the other 6 months they blow from northeast direction. As after a certain period in the season, these winds reverse their direction. So we call them seasonal winds. So these are the two winds which are kept into this circulation, we call it secondary circulation. Now, next period, we will see some description of the periodic winds, in which we will see about the main causes of the development of local winds, land and the sea breeze, and these things we are going to see in the next period. So all of you read the chapter. Those who have not read it, again read it, and your queries, just write it down. So whenever we will be interacted, anyhow, you can ask your doubts. So all the best.